It was a pretty busy Thursday in the NBA. We're going to cover off all of those games, talk about all of the fantasy takeaways, big performances, absences, who filled in, what's important. Well, Michael Bolton knows.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and stay tuned later in the show where I give you my choice between Brecky Hill and Sabrina Carpenter. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Check out LockedOnDaily.com as well, and you can find the newsletter for your favorite team. LockedOnDaily.com, all the best information for your team found in that one spot. Go ahead and double bang it as well and leave your comments and subscribe, and all of that stuff is very, very useful. Earlier today, we did a show previewing Friday's action. We did a mailbag show live with Daniel Besbris Jr., so you can check that out as well. And now we're going to recap the action from Thursday in the league. And we'll start off with a little bit of news stuff that we need to get to here to set the scene, I guess. Jordan Clarkson is out again for the Jazz, and no real updates or anything like that, which is annoying. They did actually weirdly rule that Kyle Filipowski is just in the G League now. Like, is it? I guess it's rehab. I don't know. They just said G League Kyle Filipowski, so I don't really know what is exactly going on with that. We got the news that Rob Williams is out again with a concussion. And Al, another one of those. Like, had that one game opportunity and then lasted 11 minutes, which is basically just a very nice reminder of the way that Rob Williams' career has gone so far. I'll be very interested to see what happens with him when he does return eventually, but it's frustrating very clearly. We got the update on Trey Jones, out for at least a couple of weeks. I talked about that on the preview show earlier today, saying that I don't think that there's any chance of playing. It feels like it's a little bit more serious than just day-to-day, and we actually got the update on that. And then we also got a setback on Zach Edey with his ankle. He was allegedly going to be returning this weekend, but is definitely not happening that way. We are at least another couple of weeks away from Edey returning, so Aldama's value stays, Jay Huff for deeper league stays, Brandon Clark's 12-team streamability stays, and just the status quo that we've been running with Memphis basically for the last 2 weeks or so. Remember that game though, Zach Edey hurt his ankle, and he's fine. He could have actually, he's okay. He's ready to play the next day. He's going to be missing 4 or 5 weeks here. Remember, never listen to a player when they talk about an injury. You're much better off ignoring any of that and waiting to hear other stuff that happens. You are just going to be nearly always much better off. That's a good blanket rule to have. Blanket rules don't always work, but they're good to just have a little bit in your back pocket there. Let's take a look at some waiver wire trends over the last 48 hours. Which players have been added? Which players have been dropped? Do they make sense? We'll find out. Brandon Podziemski, the most added player, makes sense there, I think. He started, and now Steph is out. Now, Steph is likely back tomorrow, and we'll talk about the Warriors game later on. But it makes sense to add Podziemski. Flaming Mo Wagner's been added in like the second most added play, which doesn't... Yeah, that seems a little reactive to me. Yeah, he's had some pretty good games, and I don't mind using Wagner on your squad, but is he actually good enough to be a 12-team mainstay? I don't think so. Juice McBride, people are adding him. Are people, I guess, looking into the decision or the idea that I had about him providing that back-end value that's maybe the 13th or 12th best guy on your roster, and then you're maybe got a top 60 guy there if someone gets hurt, potentially. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. Gershon Yabusele with the absence of Embiid, although the big avocado, Andre Drummond, could be back tomorrow. I've got no problem with trying out Yabusele, and then when it doesn't work or it stops working, you move on. People are adding Ochai Agbaji, I'm guessing largely on the back of a big performance in their last game, but we got Dick back in today. Grady was also returning to action, and that meant that we're not going to get as much out of Agbaji. So, again, he's probably a little reactive there. And then Cason Wallace. been starting, playing big minutes. We'll talk about the Thunder game later on, but he didn't start. And of course he didn't. Why would he do that? Why would the Thunder keep anything consistent? They won't, and they didn't. So yeah, quite a few reactive type moves there, I think, in those most added players. In terms of the drops, well, a little bit of that is reactive as well. Dropping Quentin Grimes makes sense with Clay and Kyrie and Luka all there. He's just not going to get to do enough. But people drop Vasa Micic because he struggled in the last game. He played 18 minutes in the last game, and in today's game, he played 18 minutes in the first half. We'll talk about the Hornets game later on. People dropping Dalton Connect, I think, makes sense, although LeBron has now popped up as questionable on the injury report for the Lakers tomorrow, so that could allow Connect to have a little bit more streaming value. But honestly, I think he just is a streamer. Dropping Peyton Watson makes a lot of sense, and dropping Moussa Diabate also makes sense. Nick Richards did hurt his ankle today, but he was able to return to the game. And then people went ahead and dropped the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy! Which makes sense, except that the Spurs have got like a back-to-back there. So like if you're waiting all this time to drop Barnes, why would you do it now when there's a back-to-back and it doesn't cost you to get those? Maybe it does. Maybe because you think he's going to shoot 1 of 6 or something from the field. But with a Thursday game and a Friday game and one of them without Wemby, I don't think I would have made, whether it's the right decision or not, in terms of production, that's not really what we're debating here. Like if you're going to hold on to Barnes and then make the decision to drop before a back-to-back, that doesn't feel like a good process to me. But that's okay. Maybe it's just worth it just to get Barnes off your team, and I totally understand that part of it, without any problems at all. Let's get into the games, though. Let's talk about the first one. This Wizards team, man. The Dallas Mavericks and the Washington Wizards is the first game up. Dallas 137, Washington 101. When did this Wizards team win last? October is the answer. They get cooked every single game. It is just like unbelievably embarrassing with the way this team is playing. It's I know they're trying to be bad, but at some point maybe we can get something, maybe get a win or do, I don't know. And it's not just about the on-court wins and losses with Washington. It's the process behind all of this stuff, which is really infuriating. We'll start with the Dallas side, though. Luka just played 32 minutes. He basically didn't play the fourth quarter. 21, 10, and 10 with 2 steals, and Kyrie had 25, 4, and 3, and 3 triples. Like big games from those guys. And we actually finally got a PJ Washington game that wasn't very good, but honestly, I just don't care. 10 points, 2 threes, 2 blocks on 29%. That's still doing enough, even in a night where the shots don't go in. Because it was a blowout, both Quentin Grimes and Spencer Dinwiddie were able to do their thing. 12 points with 4 triples for Dinwiddie and 14, 5, and 3 with 2 threes and 2 steals for Grimes, which again, I said that dropping Grimes was the right move. It absolutely was. But if you held on to Grimes and got that game, you're very happy with it. I really like Grimes. I'm pretty sure you're aware of that. And I think he can be a useful fantasy guy, but not as a regular 24-minute-a-night player. That's just not going to be a real thing. So I don't think you worry about that in any 12-team scenario. We only got 19 Lively minutes and 19 Gafford minutes, 6 and 11 for Lively, and 16 and 7 with 2 blocks for Gafford, which, that's good enough. And it's not good enough for Clay, though. Thompson played 21 minutes, had 11 points with 3 threes, and we don't need to be rostering Klay Thompson in 12-team formats. When I teased 2 seconds ago about the Wizards and their process, this is what I mean. There was no Kyle Kuzma, Keyshawn George, or Corey Kispert, so their decision was, let's start Marvin Bagley. Okay? Like, Jonas Valanciunas had been starting. Not to say that Valanciunas is a good player. That's not true. He's a fine player. He's okay. But Bagley is just actually terrible. And they moved him to start there next to Alex Sarr. And again, this is just Marvin Bagley. And you'll look at this and go, what are you talking about that's bad? It's fine. 16 and 8 in 24 minutes with 2 threes, which is actually a real surprise, is Marvin Bagley. But no blocks, no assists. He got a late steal. He shot 64%, but we know what he is. He's a points and rebounds player. And I don't think you should have any faith in Bagley either. Look, he hasn't even been in the rotation. I don't even think you should have faith in him starting or playing minutes every night at all, even though those numbers are okay. He just is not a very good player, and the process behind any of that doesn't make a lot of sense. Bilal, 29 minutes for Koulibaly, 4 points. And that's not through hitting a shot because it was only free throws. He missed all 10 of his field goal attempts. The thing is that the other stuff is okay. 4 assists, 3 steals, 4 rebounds, 29 minutes only. But Bilal is doing these little things. But man, he's been bad. Like outside the top 200 over the last 2 weeks. I don't think you need to hold on to him in 12-team leagues. I get it. But this is clearly below what he can do. But the earlier stuff was well above a reasonable expectation. So I don't think we need to look at Bilal as a must-roster guy. Jordan Poole, also nothing super exciting here. In fact, the shooting was terrible again, 29%. He did have 8 assists and 2 steals, and encouragingly, he played 32 minutes. Now, there will be the idea that he is back to being terrible again, and yet it's been a really rough run of things from Poole over the last 2 weeks. It has not been as good, anywhere close to as good as the beginning of the season. But I think these numbers are still, okay-ish, and we're definitely not dropping him. You'll be shocked to know that showcasing Malcolm Brogdon for a trade didn't work as he left early again, this time with hamstring tightness, as opposed to the knee soreness or the thumb injury that kept him out at the beginning of the season. Brogdon, the numbers were okay, 16, 5, and 2, but why? Why do they bother playing him? Is it leading to wins? No. What's it leading to? Nothing. Why is he there? I don't know if this is a real hamstring injury or if it's another Brogdon leave early moment. I have no idea. But Carrington ended up playing 28 minutes. He had 15 and 2 with 1 assist and 3 threes, which isn't super strong at all. No free throws, no defensive stats. I don't mind grabbing Bub and seeing what happens, but I just feel like they're going to be back and forward all over the shop. As for Valanciunas, who played that really big game the other day, and now 2 games in a row has been bad, 13 minutes for 9 points. I would probably hold Valanciunas, but I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure, because I don't think there is any realistic path for JV playing 25 a night, which is probably what he needs. So therefore, no, I changed my mind. I don't think you need to hold. You can, but I don't think you need to hold. Alex Sarr had 11 and 8 with 2 blocks, which is fine. It's not good, but it's fine. We're going to come back and cover some more games in a sec, but first of all, today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. You do not need a silver spoon to get all of those benefits that the usual silver spoon legends would be getting. Nah, don't worry about that. The financial favors of the 1% are not just for the 1% anymore. Robinhood Gold allows others to get all the rates and the perks that are usually reserved for high society. Now, if you're a resourceful individual, and you are, because you're watching this show, of course, if you get Robinhood Gold, you can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with that handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. The handsome return, the handsome 3% boost is for all of you guys that are super handsome as well. And of course, that's easy done. Robinhood Gold provides the privilege of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard, it is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. We're going to move on and talk about the next game, which is the Denver Nuggets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Big win from Cleveland here, or good win from Cleveland here at home over the Nuggets. 114-126 is your final score. We'll start with the Denver side of things. Same lineup for those guys. Jokic did his thing, but man, these minutes are really adding up. 39 minutes for Jokic, 27, 20, and 11 with 3 steals. Now, he had been shooting 55% from 3. He went 0 of 3 here. That number is going to come down. I'm not saying that he's going to be bad or anything along those lines, but a lot of his shooting stuff is going to drop down the stretch here, but continues to rack up ridiculous numbers. While Michael Porter Jr. had 4 steals and 2 blocks. I'm going to guess that he's never done that before. Maybe I'm wrong. Look it up. I don't know. But I'm going to guess he hasn't. 24 and 7 with 3 threes, while Jamal Murray played 42 minutes in a regulation game. I'm guessing his health is okay. I wish his play was as good. 19, 4, and 6. And Christian Brown managed 10 points in 39 minutes. After a ridiculously red-hot start to the season, Brown has cooled to be a bit more of a fringe player. I think you can hold him, and you probably should with these minutes. But if he didn't have 1 steal and 2 blocks here, we'd be looking at this going, I don't know. Yeah. And that's that's the feeling I had of him through last season and through preseason. I was I'm not really seeing what the good thing is or the major thing is. And obviously through 6 weeks, he's been way better than that and proved me wrong on that. But we'll see where it's going because it is moving back down towards those early expectations. You can go ahead and drop Peyton Watson pretty clearly, 2 steals in 18 minutes, while Aaron Gordon, the free throws are going to continually be a problem, 50% from the line here, but 18 and 7, you just want a little bit more defensively. And we only had 16 minutes from Russell Westbrook. I think you know what to do.
Get that garbage out of here.
10 and 3 with 3 assists and a triple one. It's not a terrible line at all, but you know that there's going to be bad percentages from him continually, and there are going to be nights where the minutes just aren't there, and that's exactly what we saw in this one from old Rustafa. Into the Cleveland side of this game, they also went with the same lineup, but they did lose Isaac Okoro. He played just 12 minutes. Dean Wade started the second half, and it doesn't appear like we're super, super close to getting Max Strus back. He did some contact work in practice, apparently, so we're just going to be getting a bunch of other guys step into that role, and it was Karis LeVert who really stood up today. 27 minutes for LeVert. 21, 3, and 6 with 5 triples. Now, he had to shoot unbelievably well to get there, and we can just have a quick look at the game logs to see how up and down Karis LeVert is. And he is okay if you want him, and he's okay if you don't, and you don't want to deal with that nonsense, because it is wildly inconsistent for LeVert. Don Mitchell, who'd had some down games over the recent period, but like he's starting to sort of settle in as a back-end second rounder. 28 points, 6 triples, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block, so you love that. And Jarrett Allen had also been a little bit quiet, but we got 15 rebounds and 6 assists out of Allen, as well as 2 steals. Mobley was great, 20-9 with 3 steals and 3 threes there outside of the bad free throws. And then, unfortunately, Milk dolloped on us. 4 points, 12 minutes, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. It turns out Ty Jerome is not that guy, and if you're in a 10 or a 12 or honestly a 14-team league,
Get that garbage out of here.
a lot of those things were very clearly not going to be things that continued, and they didn't continue, and the world keeps on spinning. The Oklahoma City Thunder took on the Toronto Raptors. Well, they sort of took them on. They just kicked their ass basically immediately. 129-92, the final score up in Toronto for the Thunder. Cason Wallace came off the bench, played only 23 minutes, but we loved it. We love what we see. It's a lot of twos. Richie Beno would have been very excited had he still been with us. R.I.P. Rich. 23 minutes for Wallace, 9 points, 2 threes, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. This man gets defensive stats. And he did this with Alex Caruso back. Now, Caruso got a steal and a block as well and played 17 minutes. I'm a little worried that Caruso being back means that Wallace won't hit the 30-minute height, but those numbers are great. If you want to use Cason Wallace, I think it is totally okay. It is definitely a category league thing over a points league thing for Wallace, but yeah, I love what he can do, and I wish they would commit to just using him as a starter. They won't, though. Bronco, Jalen Williams, not his best, but who cares? Not that bad. And Isaiah Joe had 4 points with, he had 16 points with 4 triples in 21 minutes. Hartenstein, only 2 points. Tom Thibodeau went, yes, we're teaching. 2 points on 3 shots, but he had 16 rebounds and 6 assists with a steal and a block. Like I said, Caruso didn't do a huge amount, and Lou Dort is Lou Dorting. Although, Dort had 2 steals and 3 blocks, so at least that defensive stream is there. I haven't even mentioned Gilgeous-Alexander. 30-4, 5 assists, 2 steals and a block, continuing to put up, obviously, very, very strong numbers. On the Raptors, they were without Jakob Poeltl, who had an illness, so they're always going to struggle if Poeltl's not there because their center depth is horrendous. They started Bruno Fernando, lob threat legend, and in the second half it was Jonathan Mobo. Fernando had 4 points in 19 minutes. He had 7 rebounds. He had a steal and 2 blocks, which is not terrible, but Bruno is terrible. So I don't think we need to. This is not a long-term absence from Poeltl, and Olynyk is going to come back. I'm assuming Kelly Olynyk is going to play at some point this season. And yeah, that will have impacts on any of those sort of replacement options. And I don't think you need to be getting too excited about Bruno Fernando or even Mobo, who I do think is going to have some value later on in the season. And he had 17 points here with a steal and a block, but it's just not going to be consistent enough. Ochai Agbaji, he did actually continue to start in this game, even though Dick was back, but that's largely, it's because they had no quickly as well. Sorry, my bad. Agbaji played 22 minutes and had 5 points. No steals, no blocks. And while last game was great, it was. There's too much up and down with Agbaji. There's too many issues in terms of I believe he was shooting 49% from 3 before this game, which of course he's not going to hold. Whether he's going to be a 29 guy from last season or not, I don't know. But he's not going to be this guy. And the role long-term just isn't there. As for Dick, he came back. He had 15 points. He had 1 rebound, 0 assists. He did have 2 steals and 4 threes. I just don't think that you need to consider Grady Dick a must-roster player. And that's for very, very, I think, relatively obvious reasons. With Barrett, with Barnes, Poeltl, and Quickly, he needs a lot of minutes, Dick. He needs a lot of touches, and he needs a lot of efficiency for that to work. And that's just not going to happen. All of those things aren't going to happen at once. When players are out, sure, he will get to do more. We've seen that already. He's had opportunities and it did work. But when they're all there, he's not going to do that. He might be a 14-point player with 2 threes and 4 rebounds and an assist, which is all right. But it's definitely not a must-roster player. And we'd already start to see Dick sort of droop a little bit before the injury that he suffered to his calf. He came back and he's fine, but I don't think we need to be looking at, we need to grab him. Not a very good Scott Barnes night, 12, 12, and 8. When you play the Thunder, though, stuff happens. 2 blocks for Barnesy helps, and Barrett also shot poorly, 17 and 11. But any night you can get a 6 of 6 from the line from RJ. I think you count yourself lucky. But yeah, easy win for the Thunder overall against this Raptors team that was missing, honestly, not their best player. Very clearly, Jakob Poeltl's not their best player, but most important because the guys behind him are terrible. And yeah, that made a big, big difference, I think, in this game. And this was another blowout, the Knicks and the Hornets. It was close early on. The Knicks pulled away late, 125-101. No Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball, or Trey Mann for Charlotte. And then Tishan Salan started again. He lasted 2 minutes, sprained his ankle, and was done for the night. I don't think that Salan should be a 10 or 12 or 14 team league player. And this will just give you the little nod to move off of that. Brandon Miller played only 30 minutes. Again, it was a blowout. He scored well. He shot well. 26 points, 5 threes, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. He has been playing really, really well. It is going to be intriguing to see how it all goes when Bridges and Ball return, because who is the guy that misses out in terms of usage and how it all plays out? But this is really strong from Miller. While, like I said earlier, Vatsa Micic played 18 minutes last game, and in this game played 35. He had 14, 1, and 12. And I'm not, like I said last time, I am holding Micic because I wasn't convinced that KJ Simpson was taking over. And I'm also not going to sit here and tell you, well, you're going to get double-doubles with assists from Micic moving forward until these guys return, because I don't know that. It's going to be volatile. I held on to Micic. I'll continue to hold on to Micic until those guys come back, or until I see him get benched. And that hasn't happened, so I'm sticking with it. So I'm happy with how that result came out, but it also ties in to a larger point that I've mentioned with these streaming guys is, in general, if you look at them and take the totality of a period of time, you probably get enough value. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but sometimes you just have to stick a little bit longer on that stuff. As for Simpson, he played 17 minutes and went scoreless. So I don't think anyone really added him outside of deep leagues, but not a great performance. Cody Martin started the second half with Salan out. He had 4 points in 26 minutes, and he had been playing well and just did not hear. He's 14-teamer, 12 maybe in the right circumstance. Let's talk about the centers. A lot of crowing / fluffing of BDNR last game, talking about how he's definitely supplanted Mark Williams and he is the guy moving forward. And then he had 6 points in 24 minutes. He had 8 rebounds. He sprained his ankle but returned to the court pretty quickly. He is fine. He is a 27-year-old, I believe, backup center. So I don't know how long he'll start for. I do not know how long Mark Williams' minutes restrictions will last for. I've got no idea. But what I do know is the Hornets are not invested in Nick Richards being a 30-minute a night starting center. That I know. When that switches, I've got no idea. As for Williams, he's only playing in the first half, but he played 11 minutes in the first half. That's pretty good. 6 and 5 with a steal in those minutes. It is going to be slow and painful, but that's 3 extra minutes in this game, so that's encouraging. And he looks okay. 6 and 5 is pretty good numbers. It was a bit of a Seth Curry blow-up here, 18 points with 4 threes. He shot 78% to get there. I think largely we can ignore that performance. And then Diabate had 4 points in 16. And while thank you for your service, Musa, I don't think we need that anymore. On the Knicks side of things, I have criticized Tom Thibodeau in the past for some of his decisions. What's wrong with this man? They beat the Charlotte Hornets with no Miles Bridges, no LaMelo Ball, who lost his Salan. They beat them by 24 points. And Miles Bridges played 46 minutes and 30 seconds out of a 48-minute game. Bridges played the entire first half. He had 19, 3, and 7. He missed his free throws, which has weirdly been a problem for Bridges this season. But what on earth is going on? I know you don't want to trust your bench because it consists of Tyler Kolek and Ariel Hukporti and Pacome Dadier and Kevin McCullough and old mate Boo Booey. But that's like actually crazy. We had 40 minutes of OG Anunoby, a man who definitely has never gotten injured in the past. He had 25 and 6 with 4 steals and 2 blocks. It's all great now, and if you have these guys on your fantasy team, you're loving it. Look at the numbers, 27 and 16 for Towns. Josh Hart had 18, 10, and 6 in 38 minutes. You love it. Until they get hurt. It's nonsensical. How you can argue anything you want on any of those others. There is no argument in the world that Mikal Bridges should play every single second of this game, apart from being pulled off Giggity for the final minute 30 seconds, because that's it. He played the entire game until Tibbs said, with 1 minute 30 left, all right, let's put the bench in. How does that make any sense? I can't answer it. Jalen Brunson copped a bit of a hit in the back. He went to the locker room. He did not return. He played just 27 minutes. Tibbs says he's fine. Cool, thanks. All right, maybe. Tibbs, I don't even know what the injury is, but he's fine. You know that part. Do you know that he's fine, but you don't know what the injury is? You're lying somewhere. I'll say you're probably lying about not knowing what the injury is. I also think Brunson probably is fine. But yeah, they said he was available to return, but they didn't need him to return, but they needed Miles Bridges to play 46 minutes and 30 seconds. Of course, that makes a ton of sense. As for old mate Juice McBride, 10, 1, and 6 with 2 threes. 28 minutes, it's enough. It's enough in a 12. For now, that is enough. If he moves and plays 21, it's not. But that is enough. And that makes him a player with back-end value and stashable upside, which is not a very common combination. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Yes, FanDuel. Tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers right now can bet $5, win on that $5 bet, and get $150 in bonus bets when you win it. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place the live bets on the NFL. Live stats, of course, you want them. Well, you've got them. The live play-by-play, well, it's right there as well. Plus, all of the access to the bets, of course. You can't place a live bet without seeing the bets and the odds. FanDuel has all that covered for you. So when you're there ready to place your live bets watching the NFL game, FanDuel is the place to go. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet as well at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's go to the next game. The San Antonio Spurs hosted the Chicago Bulls. 124 San Antonio, but Chicago 139. Obviously a very, very high scoring game. Largely for a couple of reasons. The Bulls play it at a very elevated pace, and the Spurs didn't have Victor Wembanyama, so the Bulls took full advantage of that. The Bulls were also without Kobe White, and without Lonzo Ball, and without Patrick Williams. Ayo Dosunmu has been starting for about 2 weeks. He really popped off here, though. 27, 10, and 11 with 3 steals and 3 threes, and shot 69% with 100% from the line. That is a fantastic game from Dosunmu. He has been not fantastic. Like, he's been fine as a starter. Like, he's been okay in these games, but not anything that you're going to be super excited about. But this is, again, one of those games where you look at it and it's unbelievable. It's just fantastic shooting. It's great stuff. But of course, he hasn't been that player all along. And there are 2 starters out plus Lonzo Ball in this game. You should probably have Dosunmu on your roster at the moment. Long term, don't know. He's not a top 100 player this season. He's not a top 120 player this season. He's averaging he's 26 fantasy points a game. It's not that good. But when these guys are out, he does do more. And we've seen that. Last season we saw it. This season we saw it. But even in most of these games, he's only been playing about 30 minutes a game. And he got to 35 here. A lot of factors went into this huge game. Big minutes, no Wembanyama, a lot, and shot 69%. Fantastic. And the same goes with your mate, Nikola Vucevic, who again cooked. 73% shooting for Vuce. He was 39-8 with 2 threes. 4 assists and a steal. I believe from the latest update that I saw that Vuce is, where is he? He is 3rd in the entire NBA in mid-range shooting behind Najee Marshall and Ty Jerome. And he is 9th in three-point shooting. Just an unbelievable run of shooting stuff from Vuce. Everything else about Vuce is actually the same or worse than last season. He just cannot miss. And that is leading to some huge performances. And he is absolutely cooking at the moment. Now, I know that there'll be people who will start crying if I say that he remains a sell high. That's okay. I just do not believe that Nikola Vucevic is a 62% mid-range shooter or a 48% three-point shooter. That's what I don't believe. That's as simple as that. And yeah, will it come down and be 20% or 28% from 3? Don't know. Might be 35, might be 36. Will his mid-range go from 61 down to 50? Probably not. Will it go to 54? Maybe. Will it go to 42? Maybe. There's a lot of things there about it that continue to happen. And that's been fantastic. I've loved the Vucevic that I've got on my team. Love it. What a great production that I've got from him. It's been so impressive. But he shot 49, 53, 44, 46, 46, and 45 from mid-range over the last 6 years. He shot 30, 35, 31, 40, 34, 36 from 3. And that 40% was the year with no crowds. So yeah, I still, no matter the fact that he's done it for 23 games, I would be very concerned about, at some point, it falling off to a large degree. But I know that a lot of people don't want to hear that, and that is okay. That is okay. You don't have to hear it. What Vuce has done up until this date has been awesome. He might be awesome the next game, might be awesome the next week after that. That is totally okay. He has been really, really good, and I've loved having him on my team. But yeah, I just don't want to state that I think Vuce will remain as one of the best shooters in the NBA, because nothing would lead me to believe that over the course of his career. But he absolutely cooked here, and that's fantastic for the Bulls. My mate, Talen Horton-Tucker, also is one of the best shooters in the NBA apparently at the moment. He played 21 minutes. He had 13, 3, and 4 with a steal and a block. That's all really good as well. I don't think you need to be looking to add Talen Horton-Tucker, but Billy Donovan's giving him minutes. He is putting up big numbers, and he's getting good usage. But again, no Kobe White, no Lonzo Ball, no Patrick Williams. All of this helps these sort of players, like Dosunmu and Horton-Tucker a little bit down the list. He's a deeper league stream for the short term. Bit disappointing from Zach LaVine, like very low usage, 11. Imagine Zach LaVine, 11 shots, Talen Horton-Tucker, 10. He had 11, 9, and 9, LaVine, but it hasn't quite been the full rebound season that we hoped. Although, actually, you know what? To be fair, that's not being fair because he's 55th for the season. He's been fine. Just a little bit of a cool patch from him. Speaking of cool patches, Josh Giddey, 8, 4, and 4. He had a triple-double last game, Giddey, but that is not good. 24 minutes, 8, 4, and 4. I am still holding him. But there is going to be a lot of ups and downs with this team. Like we saw last game, Matas Buzelis was pretty good, and this one he played under 19 minutes. They are a team that is putting up some numbers at times due to the pace and injuries, and it still doesn't really feel settled. We also got 28 Dalen Terry minutes and 28 Julian Phillips minutes. I wouldn't say they did a lot in them. Phillips had 3 threes and 2 blocks, and Terry had 12 points in his 28. But it's just a team that is a little bit sort of searching for what they need to do. On the San Antonio side of things, Victor Wembanyama was out, and there's a chance he plays tomorrow, but I'd say it seems more likely that he plays on Sunday. Jeremy Sohan is the one that started at center, not Zach Collins and not Charles Bassey. So we were looking at streaming those guys in, but yeah, it didn't really work out the way we wanted to. Not that they were bad, Collins and Bassey, but they were not as good as we hoped. 23 minutes for Collins, 9 and 4 with 2 blocks. He's passable for a stream. Charles Bassey, 5, 3 and 3 with a steal. Probably not what we wanted. We wanted 18 minutes or so because I didn't really foresee that Sohan would start at center. As for Sohan, 16 and 14 in 36 minutes, so his minutes are just already back up. I would expect that he starts the next game, whether that is, irrespective of Wemby, I think he starts because I'm very, very certain that Harrison Barnes won't, or he's not going to be playing a large part. 20 minutes for Barnesy, 8 points, 3 rebounds, still was rostered in a million spots. And I said earlier, I would have probably held just for the back-to-back, not because he's good, because he's not. He is not, and he has not been good for a long time. Stephon Castle, the 6 assists are good. The 2 steals are good. The shooting is bad, and the 8 of 10 from the line really does save this line. Overall, I don't believe you need to hold Castle in 12-team leagues. He has not shown that he's a 12-team league player this season. The role is okay. I'm still a little bit cautious about which direction they're going to go, but yeah, I would not be holding him. Like Vassell played only 25 here. I don't think Devin plays tomorrow, so if you do have Barnes, if you do have Castle, you hold them for tomorrow because it doesn't cost you anything to hold them. But I don't see the long-term value there. Vassell had 17, 3 and 3 with 4 steals, and he is really starting to play well, even in limited minutes. Well, it wasn't the best Bubbles game. Shapani had 12 points in 25 minutes. I still think we're holding him, but there's still, as I said, a lot to be decided with this team. It was also a really strong Keldon Johnson game in terms of scoring. And that is part of the drawback with Johnson, is that, what does he do? 28 points is great, right? He shot 65%, not a real number. He was 63 from the line, which sucks, but Ryan Anderson had 0 assists, 1 steal, and 0 blocks. That is the problem with him. He needs a bad team with a lot of minutes and a lot of shots to be even close to fantasy relevant, and he's not getting those things. So that's a good game. It's a good enough game, but not something that I want to feel super excited about as we move into the long term in terms of, what do we do with the horse Keldon Johnson. The next game is the Phoenix Suns taking on the New Orleans Pelicans, and they lose. No Durant, no Nurkic, but they changed their starter. Mason Plumlee, the cockroach, he started, and Oso Ighodaro moved to the bench. Let's just start with those guys. Plumlee had 4 points in 26 minutes. He had 10 rebounds and 2 blocks, which 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, fine. He took 2 shots, though. Ighodaro, 20 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, not enough. If Nurkic is out, and he is out, I'm okay if you want to stream Plumlee, but it's definitely not a high priority. Last time Kevin Durant was out, Royce O'Neal was someone that we looked at as a stream guy, and he disappointed. And of course, today he played 28 minutes. He had 19 and 7 with 5 threes and 2 steals. Thanks, Royce. Stream him in, I guess, but I don't feel like having faith in Royce O'Neal. He's let us down so many times. Tyus Jones, 13, 5 and 6, which is totally fine without being great, and Devin Booker had 28, 4 and 2. Not much else really going on here. Actually, that's not true because Grayson Allen, really strong game. Now, he didn't start this one, Allen. He had 13-6 with 10 assists and 3 threes. And while Durant is out and while Nurkic is out and Ryan Dunn is out, Allen does have 12-team appeal, sort of, at the back end of a 12-team roster. He's good to have for now. Long-term, I don't really see it. And it was also good to see finally a big game from Brad Beal. 24, 4-4 with 2 steals for Beal. He took a lot of shots, second most on the team behind Booker. And after a couple of really down games returning from that ankle injury, he was able to put up some big numbers. On the New Orleans Pelicans side of this one, well, they are not quite back at full strength, but they're pretty close. Pretty close. Brandon Ingram returned, and that meant that Trey Murphy came off the bench, while Herb Jones also was back, and that pushed Javonte Green to the bench. So let's just start with those guys. Ingram, first game back, 37 minutes. They said that there was a limit of 30 minutes in this game for him. Sure, seems like it. 29-7, 3 threes, 2 steals, and a block. That's great. He took 19 shots. They all went in. He was able to do a lot of different stuff here. That's fantastic. Ingram has been pretty good this season. Very good, in fact. And if you've got Ingram, you're loving the production. I have some worries about where it all goes, but whatever. Herb Jones, 32 minutes, 12-7-5, 4 steals, and a block. You could not ask for a better Herb Jones. Actually, you could because you hope that he hit some shots. But he took 11 shots. He had 2 or 4 from the line. He got steals. He got assists. You don't usually get this from Herb. If you're in a 12-team league, like you do roster him. But a lot of that stuff is not the expectation is steals with some blocks. This is a nice outlier game. I would always be open to hearing a trade if I had Herb after a game like this. DeJounte still can't quite get there. Like the shooting was better, but the volume was down. 17, 5, and 3 for Murray with 2 steals, while CJ had 25, 3, and 6. But this is a game, again, they had a big upset victory over the Suns. 4 of their best 5 players all shot over 50%, including Trey Murphy, who played 34 minutes despite coming off the bench. And no, you do not drop Trey Murphy. 19, 2, and 2 on 64%, and those minutes are great. And then with all those guys doing more, Yves Missi did less. This was the worry that I had with Missi. Not that he was necessarily going to be this terrible player. He struggled a little bit earlier on in the season with some fantasy value, but when those guys all returned, what would end up happening? And he played 25, which is fine, but it's not 31. He had 9 points and 12 rebounds, but no assists, no steals, no blocks. Would have been better had he not shot 33% from the field. But overall, with a sort of healthy team, still missing Alvarado, Hawkins, and Zion, his value dropped. We hold Missi for now, but I'm very carefully watching the lineups they go to because they went small as well, bringing Trey in at center very early on in that second half. So just, again, keep an eye on how they're going to run that sort of stuff because it will be important to his overall upside as a value proposition. The next game is the Sacramento Kings. They took on the Memphis Grizzlies on the road and they lost. Big minutes for a lot of these guys as well. Keegan Murray played 40 of them, in fact. He had 11 points. Now, his volume actually wasn't that bad. 12 shot attempts on... Yeah, he's not bad. The problem is he only hit 33% of them. He had 2 steals and 11 rebounds, and we are very much getting to decision point on Keegan Murray. I think if you're in a 10-teamer, you can probably drop him. But in a 12, I would likely hold. Fox had 18 and 6 with 6 steals, but horrific percentages, while Sabonis had 17, 13, and 6, and DeRozan was relatively empty. The 26 points is good. The 13 to 14 is excellent from the line, but 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 40% shooting. Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle for DeMar of late. Malik Monk didn't play the 35 minutes, but got 32 of them. He had 23 points, he had 5 assists, he had 4 threes. I think you're very happy with that from Monk. And then Herdard played 25 off the bench, and Keon Ellis, just garbage time. My man, Isaac Jones, had 9 points on high field goals again. Again, deeper leagues, this is a player that is useful. Somehow, I don't know how it's happening, but it is happening and he is useful in deep leagues, Isaac Jones. On to the Memphis side of things. Ja Morant got ejected in this game after getting his second technical foul. In terms of lineups, it's the same starting lineup, and I think that the buy low might have slammed shut right on your deck for Desmond Bane because he had 18, 8, and 7. He played very well. He shot 60% and played 32 minutes. Cool. Santi Aldama also just can't miss anymore. 75% shooting once again, 15 and 10 with 3 steals and 3 threes. I don't really believe in Aldama as a player, but he has been awesome all season. He has gone through... If look at the shooting splits, him versus last season. They don't make sense this season. He's shooting well above. But with Zach Edey out again for a longer period of time, Aldama's role is going to be more secure. I still have some concerns about it overall, but who cares? You know, you're loving what you're getting. and at some point, I believe it's going to fall. Marcus Smart had a locker room trip, but he returned. I think we're adding him. 18, 4 and 5 with 2 steals. It helps, obviously, that Morant was ejected. As for Ja, that's shocking, isn't it? 8 points in 28 minutes on 15% with 7 assists and 1 block. You're not going to do anything with it, but I did mention I thought Ja might have been a bit of a sell high earlier on this week. Not because I thought he would shoot 15%, because that would be insane to suggest somebody would do that. There was just a few little indicators that didn't seem right. This is just a bad game. Let's just chalk it up to nothing. Honestly, if we're still holding Scottie Pippen, I think we might be making the wrong call there. He had 4 points in 15 minutes. And LaRavia got a big boost as well. 29 minutes for Jake with 12 and 8. Now, his minutes have not been anywhere close to that in any of these other games. It does help that Jaren Jackson played just 25 minutes in this game. LaRavia is probably more that deeper league player, but every game there's just randomness with Memphis, like a Big Bane game. Aldama pops off. We get more Jake LaRavia minutes. It's just like we get more Jay Huff than Brandon Clark, which is not a normal thing. And that's actually a really good game from Huff. 11 points with 2 blocks and 2 threes. But I don't want to have trust in a 15-minute-a-night reserve, which is what he is nearly every night. If you decided you were going to stream him in today, it worked out really well. But often I like to look at what the process is and why that would make sense. And it didn't, really. He just put up the numbers, so it did work out. But I don't think that means we need to look into that or feel super confident that it's going to hold or anything along those lines. We've got one more game. The Warriors, the Rockets. We're going to talk about that in a sec. Let's go to the final game of the day. The Houston Rockets go to take on the Golden State Warriors. Big comeback at the end by the Rockets, but they cannot come back enough. The Warriors win at 99-93. The Rockets with the same lineup as usual. Let's take a look. It was a very, very slow start for Alperen Şengün, but I thought he played quite well down the stretch. You just need him to do more early on. 16, 8 and 5 with 2 steals for Şengün, and Jalen Green was better, sort of. He had 4 steals, which is nice, but 25% shooting is terrible, and 14, 4 and 3, some bad turnovers, but the minutes were huge, and then the minutes were big for Fred VanVleet as well, who had 13 points only. He just shot horribly also and couldn't get many assists. He did end up with 5, but 13, 4 and 5, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 31%. It has been a very frustrating season with VanVleet, with the shooting numbers down, the assist numbers also a little bit down. I still believe you've got to be rostering him very clearly, but it's been more frustrating than we would have hoped. It's also another not great game from Amen Thompson. It's not terrible. 14-8 is fine, but 22 minutes, 39% from the field, 50% from the line, stinks, and then no defensive stats apart from 1 block. I am holding Amen. If you don't want to hold him in, whatever. Your team, I'm not going to yell at you that much about it. It's okay. But it's been a frustrating period here, especially in a game like this one without Tari Eason. You would have hoped we got more out of Amen, but we didn't. Jabari Smith, again, just real frustrating. The 3 blocks is good. The 25% is bad. The 7 rebounds is good. The frozen yogurt is bad. The 5 points are good. And the steal is like whatever. He just continues to go back and forth between Willie, won't he? Like, he's fine. If you're going to have him, just hold through the bads and the goods. And if you don't, just don't worry about it. You're never going to pick when the good one is. 18 Steven Adams minutes, which we don't normally get. That was largely because of some of the early struggles from Şengün. We don't obviously need to worry too much about Adams from a fantasy point of view. We'll take a look now at the Golden State Warriors side of things. It's a little hard to fully sort of read into this game from Golden State because there was no Steph and there was no Draymond. Now, Steph is likely to be back tomorrow, which, as I thought, it was probably just a back-to-back rest. And there is a possibility that Green plays in the game tomorrow as well. So we can look at all this and go, oh my God, the bucket is here. John Kuminga, 33 minutes, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 3 threes. All that is very well and good. But he did the thing, guys, where it can be very, very misleading or confusing. What happened? Well, Steph is the guy that gets all the shots. Draymond is the guy that's the starting power forward. So Kuminga got to start at power forward and got to take all the shots. 37% usage. And he did all of that and then hit every shot, 59%. So it makes you go, oh my God, he is here. Oh my God, we've got to do this. And that is okay. This was a great opportunity to stream him in. We do that. But there are 2 things that are going to change drastically. You're going to get 28 to 29 minutes of Draymond Green, who will almost definitely start over Kuminga. Maybe they start Kuminga at the 3 and Wiggins goes back to the 2 in a lineup that just did not work. Maybe they start Draymond at center. I don't think they will. And then Steph's going to come in and take his shot, so Kuminga's going to go back to a low-usage player who probably doesn't get to start and is almost definitely not going to be a 59% shooter every game. It's a misleading game. It obviously happened. Had 33 points. It happened, right? But there are factors there which are not replicable every game. And that is also one of those things. Look, at him, there's no problem with doing it. But it's about, what did I give up? What did I sacrifice? How do I give back to the good community? Whatever. And I'm talking shit. Whatever. But understand that everything outside of the free throws went right here. Same for Wiggins, who's been much better than Kuminga, obviously, this season. Wiggins shot 53%. He went 23-9. He had 2 steals and a block, but that's not a realistic line every night. And then Kevon Looney grabbed 11 boards. He somehow, as a center, shot 29%, but he played 27 minutes. He's at least got some 14-team stream appeal, Kevon. Jackson Davis, I think we're dropping him. And then Bud Hield got an opportunity to start. He shot 13%. He had 5 points. Now, as much as I can tell you on and on and on and on that Buddy Hield was not going to be a 70% three-point shooter, and that's correct. I'm also going to be correct here and tell you that he's not going to be a 13% shooter. The reality is clearly in the middle. But also the reality is that Buddy Hield is not, very clearly, I believe, not a 12-team league guy. We got Brandon Podziemski playing 37 minutes. Did he do very much with it? Nope, not really. 8 points on 22%. He had 12 rebounds. He had 3 assists. The minutes are intriguing. I will see whether they start him next game with Steph back. And what do they do with Hield? I don't think that Steve Kerr necessarily has figured out all the answers. I'm a little surprised that Lindy Waters did not play a single second in this game. We got old mate Pat Spencer, ESPN absent legend Pat Spencer, who, of course, only played last season. Why would he be available to add? But that is a whole bunch of nothing from Podziemski in a game with no Steph that he should have done more. So you can have him, you can try it out, you can see where it goes. It did not go well. And I think overall, we can't have confidence in Kuminga. We can't have confidence in Podziemski. We can't have confidence in Hield. We can't have confidence in Looney or Jackson Davis. You can have it in Steph. At the moment, you actually can have it in Wiggins. And I think you got a level of confidence in Draymond. And that's it. That's it. Nothing else there feels good or confident or any of that stuff. Can't feel it really at all with any of those other players, I don't believe. Let's go in now and distribute some awards for the day. The monstrous line of the night is the same bloke who's going to be the waiver wire line of the night because he's available in 60+% of leagues. It's Ayo Dosunmu. 27 points. I said 19 rebounds. He didn't have 19 rebounds. That is 100% not the correct number. I think he had 10 rebounds, didn't he? 10 rebounds and 11 assists. Let me just double check that. Yeah, 27, 10, 11 with 3 steals. That 19, a very big mistype from me. My apologies. Your young gun of the night, the best first or second year player in the NBA, it does go to Brandon Miller of the Charlotte Hornets. 26, 6 and 3. Really good scoring. Solid efficiency there from Miller and really taking advantage of Bridges and Ball not being there. And then the dud of the night, it's not a man. We're not going to triple up on him. We are going to go with Ochai Agbaji because on our Basketball Monster Advanced roster metrics, he's 77% rostered. He had 5, 0, and 2. So yeah, I think that means that a lot of 12-teamers have got him and they should not. So you can move on from old mate Ochai Agbaji. Let's take a look at the top 6 performers and we'll do a bit of an injury wrap-up for things that went awry today. The top 6 category league performers for the day, number 1 was Dosunmu, followed by a pair of Nikola Jokic and Nikola Vucevic at 2 and 3, Karl Anthony Towns at 4, the Jedi, OG Anunoby at number 5, and then Luka Doncic at number 6. A lot of Eastern European presence there. The top 6 waiver wire guys, Dosunmu's at number 1. Yep, look, we went over and over about why that happened and how there's value short-term, but who knows long-term. Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen, while Durant are out, they're worth streaming in. Karis LeVert with an Isaac Okoro absence. He was good, but it's tough, man. It's going to be up and down. We know that. Kaysen Wallace, it's for defense and category leagues, not for points leagues. And Marcus Smart, I just think should be grabbed everywhere. In fact, out of that group of 6 guys, Dosunmu, O'Neal, Allen, LeVert, Wallace, and Smart, I'd probably take Marcus Smart over all of them. You could argue Dosunmu, but I would say with Smart, he's got that role and he's doing what he does. There's nothing from that game with Marcus Smart or the other games where I go, well, of course, this guy's going to come back and he's doing more of this because this guy is happening. I don't really see that with Smart, even though he's not like the most exciting option there. Your top 6 Yahoo Points League guys, it's pretty much the same as the category list, to be honest. Nikola Jokic, Ayo Dosunmu, Nikola Vucevic, Karl Anthony Towns, Luka Doncic, and OG Anunoby. And then for ESPN points, same names, different order. Ayo Dosunmu, Nikola Jokic, Nikola Vucevic, OG Anunoby, Luka Doncic, and Karl Anthony Towns. A quick little wrap-up of the injuries. Isaac Okoro hurt his knee. He had to leave early. Karis LeVert and Dean Wade will be the beneficiaries there, but LeVert's really the only one that matters for fantasy. Jalen Brunson hurt his back. I think he's fine. If he is out, then we are really leaning into Juice McBride. Cam Payne is day-to-day as well, so if Payne was available, he would become streamable if Brunson does miss. And then Malcolm Brogdon pinged a hammy. I don't know if it's serious or not, but every game, something seems to happen with this bloke. You can go back to Bub. I don't know that Bub, even in 30 minutes a night, is going to be this guaranteed lock top 100 guy, but it's at least somewhat interesting to consider Bub Carrington in that role. And that is the end of my role for today. That is Thursday's games wrapped up in the NBA. We'll be back tomorrow with a Saturday preview show. And the best way for you to know when these shows come out, of course, is by hitting the old thumb. You double bang and subscribe on audio and video, of course. Let's get those subs all the way up to 90K. And let's leave our comments down below, guys. We are done here. Be good to yourselves. Celebrate the positives. If you added Odosumu, love it. If you drafted Nikola Vucevic, you're absolutely feeling so great about it. Celebrate those good things. Know that you made a good choice. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.